Parks Board meeting. So first item on the agenda is to take attendance. So when I call your name, please unmute and state that you're present. Right, Brad?
I'm here, thank you.
Right. Chris? Danielle?
I'm present.
Marlene?
Present.
Tim?
Present.
Katie?
I'm here. Thank you.
And Brenda?
Present.
Okay, thank you. All right, so next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes from the May 23rd meeting. So did everyone get a chance to review the minutes from last month's meeting? Okay.
Yes.
And any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, not seeing anything. So any objections from approving the minutes from last month's meeting? All right, so I hereby approve the minutes from last month's meeting. Thank you. So kind of next thing I'd like to do is just go through the agenda for this evening. First thing we'll be going through is Parks Board alternate positions, and Tina will be giving that presentation. Then Jennifer will be giving a presentation on wayfinding and city signage. And then Brian will be going through Recreation Division update. Next thing, I'd like to see if there's any public comments.
And Zach, we didn't receive any written public comment before the meeting. And Amy, do we see anybody in attendance?
No, there are no attendees.
Okay, so without any public comment, I think we will move toward the Parks Board alternate positions presentation.
Great, thank you. I'm Tina Eggers, and I'm just going to load my presentation here real quick. I only have a couple slides. You should be seeing my slide on the computer now. Excellent, perfect. So thanks for having me. It's a pleasure. I'm always able to come to your meeting if needed, as well as the city clerk. So we're resources to you, so please use us. I work out of the mayor's office. I'm her chief of staff, and I've worked for the city for about 18 years now. And through the whole time, I've always worked on the annual recruitments with boards and commissions. So again, thank you for having me tonight. Move forward. So when we look at what your definition is for alternate members, I point to the Issaquah Municipal Code. The Park Board was created under Chapter 2, under 24.020, and it basically just says simply that alternate members serve in the absence of regular members. They're appointed using the same qualifications of regular members, which means those at the time of appointment need to have an interest in parks, recreation, either by training, experience, or actions. Residency is preferred but not required, provided that a majority of your members are city residents. There are several benefits to having alternate members, and I've listed some out here. First and foremost, it ensures a quorum so that the business of your board can take place. Although it's important to understand that you are filling the seats to the fullest extent possible, not just to meet the minimum threshold. So if you had 3 people gone this evening that were regular members, you'd want to fill your 2 alternates or 3 alternates or whatever member you had into the largest capacity, so that we have the most voices in the voting capacity. Having a quorum is critical because if you don't have a quorum, your meeting can't take place. There's no meeting to call to order. And a majority of the positions equal a quorum. So that was a good question before we started, is how many members do we need? You need at least 5. And this is the threshold that doesn't change. This, whether you have vacancy or absences, that number is consistent. This enhances your discussion. We want to hear from all the members. The only exception would be if an alternate was not filling in for a regular seat that evening. We would still want to have participation, but if there was a vote being made that was on the floor and you were in discussion of the vote, that would be the only time to refrain. Otherwise, participation is key and we value the input. The other thing it does is it helps fill our vacancies if and when they occur, that you have someone who's sort of onboarded, they're knowledgeable, they have the skill set to step in and take over a regular seat if and when those vacancies transpire. It also allows for our transitions, and this is important not just for promotional opportunities, but for our legacy seats. Council policy that is set by resolution addresses this. It indicates that terms will be reasonably limited to allow a broad array of community participation. So reappointments are not guaranteed. While there aren't term limits, we do need to find a way to reasonably limit the number of terms. And then the other component in that section also speaks to, at the time that appointments are made, that administration ensures an equitable balance of interest and expertise are represented across all our boards and commissions. And while this is not new, I did want to give you a snapshot of how our recent reappointments looked at the not beginning of the year, but the ones that we did in April. This is pretty consistent with our past years, even going back to 2017 and further. Earlier this year, half of our reappointments kept their existing seats. 23% were promoted, so they went from an alternate to a regular. 18% were reappointed, but to a limited term. This really allows us to continue recruitment and try to not create stability where we can, and let the board continue on and do its recruitment as needed. And then we had 9% of the positions where we saw what we referred to as legacy seats, and those were essential for providing expertise and the continuity of the board. So we certainly strive to create flexibility where we can. It's not always possible, but particularly for our long-serving members, some choose to retire, some segue to other boards and commissions, and some look for other either elected seats like our council or for other service opportunities. In this case, we're looking for more flexibility for the park board. And what we found when we were doing interviews—
Before you leave that slide, could you go back just for a second? Just as someone that struggles with colors, I'm somewhat colorblind, trying to tell like what the little colors are on the bottom matching up. You walked your way through it, but
Sure.
the red and the green and the gray are all pretty much the same to me.
Sure.
And so, I mean, I got it. You don't need to click as you walk through it. I'm just saying going forward, you know, sometimes just be aware colorblind is an issue, and
Absolutely.
the data may not get transferred. So, yeah.
Is there any of these that you want me to refer back to?
No, I just like
Okay.
red and green are very common, and they're the hardest to see. So,
Got it.
thank you.
You bet. So with creating that flexibility, the interview panel recommendation that took place just a few weeks ago recommended that we increase your number of alternates from 2 to 3. And the intent is to provide more flexibility to be used when needed. So the key word is up to. And in this case, you have up to 2 alternates that you can appoint. We're looking to increase that to 3. And You wouldn't necessarily have to use that every year. It's just there for depending on the applications and the expertise pool that you had in front of you. So the mayor's receptive to this increase, and I've drafted an ordinance that would make that happen. And we can have that happen at the July 5th meeting. So I wanted to alert you of that. Again, we think it provides some flexibility. We see some of our other boards and commissions have more than 2 members as well. So this is consistent with our practices. And I'm going to stop sharing and see if I can answer any questions. There we go.
Tina, can I add a couple of thoughts really quick?
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Tina, for joining us. This is really a continuation of the conversation we had last May or last month, not last May, just last month at the May meeting. And hearing from all of you that there was interest in having that added flexibility for the alternate positions. Tina, again, thank you so much. What I'm hearing is the amendment, the necessary flexibility is really within the city code. You and the clerk's office are prepared to take that, as you've talked with the mayor, that amendment forward. As of right now, the rules and regulations that the park board has doesn't really need to be amended. It already has that flexibility to have those alternate positions changed. So the more immediate action, and I'm saying this to, I guess, connect the dots to our conversation last month, park board members, is to make this amendment to go forward to city council, thus giving that ability to have an additional alternate that could serve either at the beginning of a term or the end of a term. Thanks again, Tina.
Thank you. I guess we'll open it up to any discussion, any concerns from any park board members with regards to the additional alternate. Brad?
Tina, how is this legacy position going to lay into this? Is that going to be within the alternates and then renamed, or could you explain how that's moving forward?
Sure. Yeah, our alternate seats have a simple definition. They serve in the absence of regular members. And then we use them a variety of ways. So we look for opportunities to promote. We look for opportunities to help our boards and commissions and have our long-serving members transition to alternates so they can help our boards in its leadership. But we don't call it out as a separate title, nor do we list it as a unique item. We've been doing this for many years. Council policy has been in place since '84, and I think the last time we updated it in front of council was in 2006. And it's still the way that we either limit a term, use an alternate, or use a promotion are all consistent.
So there's really no change other than to recommend adding one, I guess. I mean, so essentially the term of legacy doesn't exist or isn't going to exist?
It exists in the sense of how we've been using alternates. And just reiterates the importance of having that flexibility, but it's not a standalone seat, no.
So what I hear you saying, Tina, is perhaps, operationally, the park board could, when needed, if one of those positions is sort of filling that role of longevity, sort of seen as it's in a legacy role operationally, but it doesn't need to necessarily or hasn't been codified as a definition legacy.
Correct.
Yeah. I don't know if that helps, Brad.
So I'm new to the concept, and I wondered if you could remind me, one, how long is the term as an alternate? And two, are they sent the full park board meeting agenda every month, regardless of whether or not they'll be attending?
Yeah, alternate seats are typically staggered. They're for 2-year terms, but if someone leaves a seat mid-term, the incumbent fills out the remainder of the term. So someone could have a shorter duration, but when the seat is at its start, at its newest, it's for a full 2-year term. And I saw Director Watling nodding his head. Yes, they're part of all the agendas. They're part of the email distribution group. They're part of trainings. They're encouraged to be at all meetings. We really want them to be up to speed and a participant of the board.
Thank you.
Any other comments with regards to the alternate positions? Danielle?
I'll just share, I mean, historically on our board, at least during my tenure, the alternate position has been used primarily to kind of onboard a new member, and has been for people who are new to the board, and then often after that term is up, they'll apply for a regular position. So this is a change. While it sounds like this legacy concept has been perhaps used in the city for other boards, you know, like this is a change for our board. So that's just for what it's worth.
Yes, I recognize it feels different for the Parks Board.
Yeah. And also, I just made a comment in the chat, just the language that you had up on the board. It said that when you had some highlighted language that said there would be 2 members, and we would change up to 2 members, and we change it to up to 3. And I just was wondering if we should be saying may be appointed instead of shall be appointed, since the whole concept is optional. But just want to flag that for you.
I think it's the up to is already provides you the flexibility to go from 2 to 3. Currently, the only language that we'd be changing is the number from 2 to 3. But were you suggesting some additional language?
I was suggesting that we don't have the whole paragraph there, but I was just suggesting that perhaps shall shouldn't be used. It should be may.
All right, I'll look at the language.
Because just look at the language. May would allow you to have like 0. Shall might make you think that you need to have, but there might be a requirement for at least 1.
All right, I'll look and see its wording against our other boards. That's a good point. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Danielle. Any other comments?
So Zach, hearing no other comments, just to close and again, thank you, Tina. It sounds like that council action will be going to council likely in July. I'll certainly keep all of you informed. Under director's report, I'll also give an update on the recent park board recruitment and some of the interviews that took place. So we'll make sure any and all of those council amendments coincide with any of our upcoming park board appointments. Thanks again, Tina.
Thank you.
All right, so I think next we'll be moving on to wayfinding and city signage. Jennifer's presentation.
Amy, can you provide me presentation abilities?
Let me just do that now. I also noticed that there is someone that has joined us by phone as an attendee. Do you want to check in with that person? Is that something you guys would normally do, or since public comment has passed, do you want to just?
We have that flexibility. Zach, would you like to check and see if there's public comment at this time?
Sure, yes, I think we can see if there's any public
Okay.
comment.
Okay, caller, I'm going to unmute.
Mute.
Hi, caller. If you want to identify yourself and let us know if you want to speak for public comment.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to, but then I heard that whole last thing. This is Connie Marsh, and
That makes sense. CM. That's
That
what it
that
is.
makes I know it, right? Surprise. So having dealt with all the boards and commissions for many, many years, this concept of legacy is not a concept that you ever hear in boards and commissions, and how the boards and commissions are filled. So while it was presented as if it's sort of status quo, I have never seen it happen. So I like the legacy concept, and I think it adds a plushness. So I would actually suggest, not that you've already not let it go, I would actually suggest that you add it to the definitions and the language to be sure that it is considered as board members are moved along in all boards and commissions and the Parks Board. So 20 years, 25 years of watching all boards and commissions, you all are the first time I have ever heard the term legacy or talked about the concept of legacy. So I just wanted to add another perspective. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Thanks, Sunny. I'm just going to put you back on mute now, if that's okay. Oh, you did it yourself. Thank you.
And before, or as Jen is getting the sharing capabilities, I just want to give a shout out and a thank you. Amy Dukes, our arts coordinator here in the department, is serving as host tonight. So thank you, Amy, for joining the park board this evening.
Oh, thanks for having me. Jen, are you all set? It looks like you are. Yep. Okay. Good to go.
Can everyone see that and hear me?
Yes.
All right, super. Hi, I am Jennifer Fink, Park Planner and Project Administrator with the city, and I am here to provide an update on our city-wide wayfinding and city signage. Successful wayfinding is a signage system that allows us to navigate throughout a city using various modes of transportation and iconography to allow for successful movement and reaching one's destination. Also provides some identity. This is a picture of different types of signs that you would see in a successful signage system. You can see there's a hierarchy of signs. We go from gateway monument signage to trail bicycle gateway signage, vehicular signage, pedestrian signage, park signage. And yes, we know there's a typo on this. This is a very old graphic I don't have the ability to fix, so just letting you know. Trailhead signage, as well as some facility signage. Successful signage also has consistent aesthetics, color, scale, materials, legibility. They're in the same type of locations in different areas so people understand and can read them. Also the frequency of signs, making sure that signs get you to a destination and they don't drop off or leave you hanging, is wondering at a decision point which way to go. But the sign also provides some context and information on your destinations. And for our purposes, we're really looking at the civic park and trailhead areas, but also local attractions like which direction is Old Town. Here are a few examples of city gateway signage that you can find in and around this area. As we started working on this project, we started taking a look at what types of signage is currently existing out in the Pacific Northwest landscape and other areas in the region that are very popular and well known. There's also various types of vehicular and pedestrian oriented signs that you might see as you're out and about in different areas of town. little background on how this project came to be. Back in 2014, the walk and roll plan was adopted, and in that document, we found that a lot of our existing conditions were disconnected. And so as we further explored those in that document, we identified some priority projects, which created those connections for both pedestrians and bicyclists to be able to get to their final destinations. And there was a very early phased plan for implementation and the beginnings of funding on that project. And then as we started in the park strategic plan, wayfinding was identified as a priority project in the short term that we were going to need to address citywide as we look at our signage systems and directions and our trail connectivity. There's a lot of inconsistencies, and it was a need that we were needing to make improvements on, not only for a city branding and identity effort, but to know when you're at a city park or trail versus a private park or trail. And then came along in 2021, our master mobility plan, which really looked at different goals and policies to help really kind of further launched the walk and roll plan, and looking at, safety, quality of life, but really multimodal transportation and how we can get around the city. Does you take a bus here and there? Does walking be able to provide and get you to your next connection or destination? But also looking at not only walking, but bicycling, transit, and automobile. And all of these are all just a layered network throughout the city. As you can see by these pictures, these are current existing citywide facility and wayfinding signs. As you can tell from the pictures, there's no consistency in the signage. It is very hard to read, and doesn't really always say City of Issaquah. Even though Issaquah is on there, it's represented in very different fashions. In some areas, we have too much signage, like this sign in the lower left-hand corner. Too many words on the sign for it to be legible, and it's not really in the right location. So as we look at updating our facility signage throughout our citywide system, parks and trails, we're also looking at ways that we can simplify it and get rid of some of the sign clutter that we have existing out there. Like this visitor information right in front of another sign creates a very confusing situation. And here we have on the left-hand side as well, two different types of signs, which can be really consolidated into one and be much more clear for a driver or a pedestrian. We want to convey a consistent message to visitors and to residents as to how to get around town. So some of our goals and the design process, some of this may be familiar for current park board members, as you've seen this presentation or pieces of this several times over the last year. But our project goals as we embarked upon the citywide wayfinding was really to provide a comprehensive facility signage system that builds one cohesive identity for Issaquah. Wanted to ensure that our improvements to connectivity, especially for those who are walking, biking, and rolling, and also raise the profile for destinations for residents and visitors, so like knowing where Veterans Memorial Park is, or Tibbetts Valley Park, or where Old Town might be. And also ensure that residents and visitors can find our parks, our community center, the Julius Bone Pool, and also areas where they might be able to gather. Our approach with our consultant team really was, had a lot of different goals. One of it is we wanted it to be seamless. We wanted to improve the connectivity. We wanted to it to be consistent across various modes of travel, whether you're taking a bus or future light rail or walking or you're driving a vehicle, making sure that all the signage is where it needs to be and get you where you need to go. We also needed to incorporate the city's branding and identity colors. We're also using national standards, the MUTCD and AASHTO in the signage system, which are transportation guidance, which require reflectivity, making sure that the letters are legible, and making sure we're being consistent. And also in some of our signage, we're using iconography and making sure that that is consistent across all of our different sign types. I've already spoke a little bit about the predictability, how important it is to know that when you see those signs, it is going to get you where you need to go, but also knowing where to look for those signs or where they may be located. And inclusivity, we want to make sure that this is accessible for those with visual impairments as well as visitors, regardless of our abilities, and especially for our residents. And again, I learned habits that once you know your way, you can easily get there again and again. And it also, signage is likely to encourage people to use alternate modes of transportation that they may not have previously felt comfortable doing, so they know where they're going. And also, not everything can have a sign. As I mentioned, we're trying to reduce sign clutter, so being really intentional with what information is on that sign and where it's located. Some of our considerations, as you know, Issaquah, this black graphic, has many neighborhoods, and we also have in this colored inset here, that is our creative district, which overlays several different neighborhoods. One of the considerations as we approach this project is how down the road might we acknowledge each of those neighborhoods in different districts and their unique context and identity. So I'll speak more to that a little later. But also we've got existing infrastructure and future infrastructure that's going to be coming. And how does this wayfinding play into future changes, let alone current changes and current conditions and future destinations? Maybe there isn't a playground at this location now, but maybe in the future, how could we get people there safely? Also available funding. We have capital funds available for some of this implementation and the different strategies we'll use in getting that accomplished. Again, just a quick recap here, some of our approach was making sure we're integrating multiple modes of movement and transportation, making sure that there's decision-making and getting people where they want to go, and providing local distinction, whether it be for a neighborhood or a district. But also we're designing for all, prioritizing safe routes, and making sure that the signage is legible. And also making sure that we're implying a good system of signage to be able to make sure that we can maintain it, that it's easily produced, and that it can be well implemented, not only for today, but over the long run. Some of our parameters as we addressed this, that were some of our guiding principles, was really to create a timeless and simple design for the wayfinding and signage system. Wanted to keep a natural but yet modern theme. Wanted to have contrast, so the signs are legible and easy to read. Also making sure that there's durable materials that are easy to maintain and keep up. We worked with our public works staff, also making sure that the different typologies throughout time are still consistent and legible, using universal fonts and iconography, and making sure that not only are we getting people in town, we also send a lot of people out of town, up into our hills and to our forested hillsides. And so making sure that as you come into the city, you know your ways, but you also know your ways as you should migrate out of the city as well. So some of our public engagement as we approached this project was really, really exciting. We had a lot of voices, and within all of those different voices, we've been able to build consensus. And we have our design team, which was not only city staff, but it was a consultant team. It was other city staff in our planning department, making sure sign code changes were integrated into this, our public works, and our other park staff. We also worked great with a steering group that was really a sounding board for a lot of our work, and also the community was so instrumental in getting our design to where it is today. Our steering group was made up of not only some few city staff members, but there was representation from the Park Board, Economic Vitality Commission, Chamber of Commerce, Visit Issaquah, Downtown Issaquah Association. We had advocacy from Department of Natural Resources, and as well as our Arts and Cultures group. And this group really was a sounding board because they all come from very different perspectives and different interests, and how wayfinding can really help boost energy, but also enhance everyone's needs. Some of our process, this is a very busy sign, and I'm not going to slide, and I'm not going to read through all of it, but just wanted to let you know. We did some background research. We came up with some preliminary designs. We worked with our steering group, worked with our citywide community engagement toolkit. We went back to the steering group. We refined the design. We again went out. We did it early last May. Did public engagement, which I'll talk a little bit more about. We took all that feedback and we kept going back to the steering group with additional design work. We also updated Parks Board several times last year, the Arts Commission, all till we got to a point of a preferred design. That preferred design is I'll be sharing with you tonight, but we're also putting it into a final plan, which will help us with the long-term implementation of wayfinding throughout the city. We're also going to be constructing some prototypes, getting those out to the community, and we're also going to be creating construction documents and standards that as we continue to implement this, we can put these signs out for bid and get them implemented. Again, multiple stakeholders, internal steering groups, community members, city staff, and, you know, again, one of the key things that came out is modern clean lines, wanting to make sure that Issaquah's unique setting and topography was represented. Tiger, Cougar, and Squaw Mountains, Lake Sammamish too, but also, you know, with the vegetation in the area, making sure that it changed with the seasons and was reflective of the natural earth-toned environment. Our early public engagement last May, you may recall we had signs and an online survey out for several weeks. We went through email, social media, outdoors, had outdoor signage in 12 different locations, and really asked on these 4 different concepts you see on the right side, some various questions that were really open-ended for the community to provide feedback, asking them what the, and we asked these same questions for each 4 sign types, you know, which one do you like the composition on? The color scheme? What about the aesthetics of the sign? Materials and finish, integration of art, and does this reflect Issaquah? And we had one of our largest survey responses we've ever had with over 1,300 respondents. The feedback was tremendous and really, truly fed the next phase of design on these signs. And again, I mentioned we had previous park board meetings. These are some that we brought, updated you on last year, back in March and August and September. I had forgotten the March date in your packet, so please know, but they are, all the updates are posted on the city's website. So where we are with the design. We have come to a refined suite of signs that we feel reflects all of the needs and the community feedback that has been given, really building this consensus. This was shown to you at the most recent meeting. But this is a suite of signs that is the preferred design, and we will be sharing this with the community soon. As we look at the suite of signs, I will show you some pictures as to how they might get implemented and where they might get implemented. Earlier, I had mentioned that some of our neighborhoods and special districts may have some iconography that would identify them. That would be a future. You can see here on some of these major directional routes or a regional trail where some of that future art could be integrated as a finial on top of these poles to help provide some further recognition for different neighborhoods or districts. But we also have monument and gateway signage. We have vertical signage where there might be more narrow right-of-ways and also some waterfront or regional traffics. We've got trailhead signage in various forms, even some urban trail signage, and you can see there's some of that universal iconography to help identify for folks where what activities are permitted on those trails and recreational spaces. We also have park signage, some facility signage, and some facility directional signage, as well as a facade signage. In our final plans and document specifications, we're coming up with all the different material lists. So whether it's now or 3 years down the road, we'll be able to get these reproduced and make them consistent. Knowing where people want to go and how they're getting there was one of our key steps as we started this process, and we worked very closely with the steering group as to where people wanted to go when they get into town. And we also looked at our trails and did photo simulations of this preferred design, how it would look out in the environment. And here you can see two different types of trailhead and trail signage, as well as our park signage. And here's a map of where those different signs would be located. And this will all be included in our final planning documents. So don't feel these are written in stone, because they still could change or have different edits. But this is also where our park sign and location map is going to be. You can see this, there's quite a few, and it's going to take us a while to get all of these implemented over time. Here's a photo simulation of the city facility signage. This directional signage would be if you walk into a parking lot or a secondary entrance to a facility. Here may be a primary facility sign, but also as you get to the building, here's a building sign and what that might look like mounted. Here's just a map of all of our different city facility sign locations and the different signs that will be implemented on those different facilities. And some of our gateway signage, photo simulations of what these were. Some of our monument signs will be lit, so they will have a little more depth and dimension and be visible at night in these different areas. And you can see here at a roundabout, but also in a vertical signage. This is one of the main access points as you just come into Issaquah off of I-90, but also here's a regional trail gateway sign. I sounded like Tweety Bird there. Sign to be able to enter the city should you be a commuter. And also we have a map that shows the different gateways. And we also have major gateways that are from boat or pedestrian and bicycle. And so identifying where some of those signs would go was really important for us. And we worked to really figure out, this is really kind of implementing some of that work that was done with not only the walk and roll plan, but also the park strategic plan and the master mobility plan, what are those major routes and directional areas that are really for people to move throughout the city. And so identifying those and really identifying where those major decision points would be. I know this looks somewhat simple. Some of these different dots might actually represent signs on 4 different corners. This is a simplified version of that mapping. And also took a look at bike and pedestrian facility signage and how we can make improvements on that, and identified some of the regional routes versus some of the existing shared use paths and bike lanes. And here's some photo simulations of the trail and shared use path over here on the left, adjacent to the Rainier Trail. Then also what a major route directional sign might be as you are driving through the city. As far as our next steps, we are in process of creating, it's at the fabrication shop right now, some prototypes. We will be setting those out along the Rainier Trail at the community center for the community to take a look at, as well as have some signs in the 12 different locations we did earlier last May when we did a survey, asking people for their feedback on the final preferred signs. Once you can actually take a look at them, touch them, feel them, and make sure that they really are what works for everyone. We'll also be working on finalizing the wayfinding and signage plan. And then also we hope to start our first phase of wayfinding implementation and get construction document specifications created yet this fall and out to bid. And implementation of this is really going to be a multi-year project. As we can see through all the different mapping that I showed you, it's going to take quite some time to get this implemented. And with that, that is the end of my presentation. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any comments? Brad?
Thanks, Jen. Looks good. I just have 2 questions or comments. Is it only the facilities, or just to clarify, is it the facilities that will actually have an address at the bottom with the salmon emblem?
Yes, so it'll be park signage and facility signage that will be addressed, and it's more for emergency response. So people know, you know, the Julius Bone Pool will obviously, Confluence Park will have an address. So all of those different facilities will. Trails will not.
And there was some talk through the process about whether or not the salmon emblem would stay or not, and what's the status of that?
So that will be on some signs. It'll be on more the city facility signage and park signage and some of the trail signage. The bigger, more expensive signs, they will be actually a separate item that can then, should it ever change, be removed and added back. So so we don't have to reproduce the entire sign should that change.
And do you have any kind of a priority schedule at all in terms of, you know, which signs, you know, you want to focus on first?
We do for this phase 1 implementation. We'll be doing signage along the Rainier Trail at the Issaquah Community Center, Pickering Barn, and I think that's it right now.
And then my last
First stage.
question would be, you mentioned multi-year. Any sense at all in terms of how, you know, what that might amount to? You know, 5 years, 10 years? What do you think?
That's a very good question. I think it all kind of comes down to funding. In our last capital program, it was adopted as $200,000 a year for implementation. But we'll have to see what that looks like. Knowing as we've kind of worked through this process, knowing there's kind of a big lift in getting a design package together to be able to take that out to bid. We're looking at maybe doing that 1 year and doing a more large implementation in the following year. So you're not having to always spend that design money getting a package put together. But it could take several years to be able to get it, but it also, goes along with the funding and how much financial support there is for that implementation. So how long, I can't really quite answer that directly, but we do have a good plan for at least starting a few park and trail opportunities, and should that gain interest, hopefully we could do additional implementation.
I mean, is there any kind of a focus at all on signage where it's intended and not currently any signage as being an element of priority?
Of course. And, but also we want to be able to get people through a consistent area. So as we start looking, Rainier Trail is pretty consistent right now. As we go from, the 3 trails crossing to Second Avenue, how we can get that signed. We're not leaving any gaps, but as we start doing some of our other destinations, we'll really need to take a really close look as to where we are in some planning processes, trail connectivity. Are there gaps? Are we able to complete that destination? Because you don't always want to just start a trail sign unless you can finish getting someone either past through an intersection or to a destination at the other end where they can have ample decision-making ability as well. So we're really going to have to take a close look at some of that signage. Maybe the next phase might be a little heavier focused on a few parks. We'd have Blackberry Park. Oh, that's another one that's coming up with Blackberry Park. That'll be in this phase 1 implementation too, since that'll be under a new development. But as parks get redeveloped, we'll add new signage there. Should facilities change, we could work a few on those as we work on some of our transportation and multimodal areas. So it's work in progress, and that's the benefit of having a full planning document, is that we can always go back and figure out what our next step is going to be, whether it's from community voice or council voice. We don't have it all planned out down the road past our first phase right now.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Brenda, I think I saw your hand.
I was just going to say thank you. The last time we saw this, the mountains were brown, and you've changed those, and they're much brighter. And as Issaquah is never represented by brown mountains, so that was a big improvement. The brown sky kind of got me. That doesn't seem warm and welcoming. I'm kind of surprised at the brown sky, and I know part of it is visualization and so that you can see things better, but seems like a brighter, cheerier sky might be nice.
Yeah. There was some of the comments too, but as we went through, and I hope this sign is representation, because when we asked some of those open-ended questions from the survey, even though someone may have had a negative comment, it was still very helpful as to why. Why did they not prefer the black sign, or why was the orange? A lot of people like that orange tone because it felt like nature, it felt like trees. And so there's also
I thought of smog.
Yeah. A little more literal, but hopefully this, we know we cannot always please everyone, but hopefully everyone can see little pieces of what it is they liked of every sign type.
I'm very
Its
happy with
final
the mountains
design,
that it's
so-
changing from the brown mountains.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you can see that.
Tim?
Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. It's a great presentation, and I really look forward to seeing those signs that get put up. I noticed you showed a lot of maps with a lot of dots on them. About how many total are we talking about? Do you have a number for that?
I do, but I don't have it right before me. I'm sorry, but it will be in the final plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so my
And
second
we'll have,
question,
some cost estimates from there as well.
right. My second question is more sort of aspirational or sort of forward looking. And I saw that on one slide, there was something about some digital integration. And I'm thinking that everyone is using their phones to follow along on maps to get from here to there. Was there consideration, or is it just outside the scope of the project to have sort of a digital map of Issaquah that you can use to navigate your way around the city?
That's a great question and definitely something we have talked about. It is outside this existing scope of this project. This really was just focused on the sign type in the family of signs that would be implemented. But right now on our trails map, that has a digital location, so you're able to download that and digitally locate yourself. We've also talked about with our communications team how we might do some of that. We're in the midst of a trails map update right now, but a lot of that different integration is going to take more resources in order to get that implemented. But it's definitely something that we've talked about and recognized, but we'll just have to see where that goes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Danielle?
I just wanted to share that I also had the same reaction as Brenda. So I was happy with the mountains no longer being the rust colored, but felt that the signs, it looked to me that the signs that were going to be at parks were going to be predominantly, the brown, and at least in the mock-ups that were kind of shown. And to me, that's just it seems like they should be blue or green or some sort of, kind of more happier nature color than like burnt out grass. Anyway, that was just my impression.
I
But
will
I
say
look
at least
forward to
that
seeing
burnt out.
the real ones. What was that?
I was just going to say that picture of the Blackberry Park, there will be new grass and there will be plantings around the sign as we do that. So it won't look quite so.
Yeah, so yeah, anyway, and then the other
Stark.
thing, the other point, and I think I bring this up every time we talk about this, but I really think that that it would be helpful for the city to reevaluate some of the park names, to give names to different types of parks, so like an athletic facility and a park versus like maybe like a natural area that doesn't have any facilities or really isn't intended. So we have all these little parks, a lot of them that maybe don't have any amenities. And the right time to look at that would be before we do this, spend money on the signs. So
Agreed. And at least with our first phase of implementation, there's no question on the names of the facilities and the trails. So we definitely recognize the need to do some cleanup on some of our
yeah,
names.
that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah. Yep. Thank you.
Any other comments, concerns?
I guess just so it's in public record, there were 2 comments on the colorways. If there's any commentary from the city on how those colorways were chosen, I think that would be interesting.
On which, Marlene, I'm sorry.
So that I think there was 2 comments on the feedback on sort of the brown
Mhm.
colorway. Was there like strong reasoning behind utilizing those 2 colorways?
Yeah,
Visibility.
in the different the feedback we received from the community comments, there was a lot of liking for. There was one concept that had the 2 mountains, Squawk and Tiger, with Mount Rainier in the background. A lot of people liked that sign, and as well as the color. And then also that color was used in another concept. If you go back through on the city webpage for the wayfinding, there are the results of the online survey, and you can filter through some of the comments. But we very closely looked at every single comment and weighed them with some of the different feedback, some of the different ages. And I think one of our earlier presentations, we kind of talked through some of the engagement that we had. So it was really not any one voice said this is the reason why it's doing. It was more a collective of the different groups and the different voices and the different feedback we have received, because this really has been a very slow consensus process, both with the community, the steering group, staff, and you as the park board too.
I think my only question with the wayfinding and the signage is how much overlap will there be with, for instance, the Mountainside Drive trailhead to Indisquack Mountain, I believe, is Issaquah City versus the Sycamore entrance is the state park, if I recall, and also some areas in Cougar, it's the county. So will those signs from like the county, the state park, be sort of persisting, like since it's not necessarily Issaquah?
Yeah, we definitely will work with our partners on that. We have some areas where there's both signs next to each other as a boundary thing. There's some where it's trailhead because it's leads to their property. We'll work closely with them to make sure we do have representation from the Department of Natural Resources on the steering group. So understanding the different trails and our interfaces with that agency is particularly as we look at some of our hillsides is really important. But yeah, we will definitely work with them. But this is really focused on city assets and city directional. So, but as we can work with our neighbors to help complete directional signs, we will most certainly do so.
Thank you. All right. Well, with no other comments, I think we will next move on to the Recreation Division update from Brian.
Hey, thank you. I'm gonna ask, can everybody hear me okay? Cool. I'm gonna ask for Amy. You're awesome. Thank you so much. You're way ahead of me already. Thank you for helping out with that PowerPoint. Appreciate it. I know most of you, but I don't believe I probably know all of you. So just a real quick introduction. I'm Brian Burnson. I'm the Recreation Manager for the Parks and Community Services Department. And this presentation is going to share with you pretty much everything and all the people I get to work with. So it'll be sort of fun. Just put this presentation together. So good news, bad news. Good news is we have an hour, it looks like. So bad news, I'm not sure how long this is going to take. I literally just put this information together. So you're getting my first run of this information. So I'm looking forward to sharing with you just some of this. Yeah, Amy, if you don't mind going to the next slide really quick. Amy, do you mind going to the next slide?
I am trying.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah. Okay, hold on 1 second. Hopefully I won't have to do them all that way, but.
No, thank you so much. I believe that most of you have seen the slide before. It's a, it's a great reminder, just kind of what we're about and what our roles and purposes, that we invest. Like I said, I think this has been shared with you before, this exact slide. But, we invest in places and we invest in people. I always like to start with this. It's a good reminder of just kind of what we do. Next slide, please, Amy. Oh, there we go. Looks like it's rolling along smoothly. Love it. Tonight, I'm here to update you on the division within the Parks and Community Services Department, the Recreation Services Division. The Recreation Service Division consists of 5 teams. We have the Community Center, Athletics, Julius Bone Pool, Senior Center, and Pickering Barn. These are 5 very different service types that work collaboratively to provide recreation services within our community. So very different, yet we work very closely and assist each other in many and numerous different ways amongst these different teams. The Recreation Service Division is far too large for me to share all the great things that these teams do with you in the allotted time that I have tonight. But my goal tonight is going to be to be able to give you an overview of these teams and a deeper understanding of the impact these teams are having within our community. Because it's so often that I'm talking with people within our community that don't even realize just what these teams touch and what they do. So with that, we'll move on to the next slide, which is our community center. Real quickly with our community center operations, I'm hoping most of you have been in the community center. If you haven't, we'd love to have you come visit us. The community center houses both of our, it houses the community center team, but it also houses our athletic team. And we'll be talking a little bit about the athletics team here in a moment. We have 3 very beautiful 3 hardwood basketball courts. We have a fitness room. We have a walking track, drop-in activities at this facility, and we have basketball, volleyball, pickleball. There's court rentals. An important part of this facility too is it's part of the city's emergency management plan. The Recreation Service Division is responsible for coordinating the provision of mass care, sheltering, and providing individual assistance for residents and pets impacted by an emergency or disaster. and are unable to care for themselves. The community center is a primary location that would be used in a situation where sheltering would be needed. And the services division as a whole, now all those teams I showed you earlier, would provide in helping to support the operations and in the event of emergency. Going into some of these programs, I'm going to be walking down through here. Just like I said, we have a lot of programming, but I'm hitting some of the big hitters that you maybe even have had you had kids in, know people that have kids in them, have been to them. But I'll quickly go through some of these. And one of the ones that's going on right now is our summer day camp. First full week of summer day camp is this week. Uniqueness of this program is we ran this program throughout COVID. We did not run it. So our summer day camps have ran through COVID. The Recreation Service Division offers day camps as well as works with partners to provide a wide array of summer day camp offerings. The camps that are provided by our Recreation Services team, these are programs that we directly operate and run, is our Mighty Mites. These are half-day camps serving ages 3 to 5. We have a kinder camp that is a full-day camp serving ages 5 to 6. Camp Qua, which is our largest camp. This is a full-day camp serving ages 7 to 10. These are your 2nd through 5th graders if you're going by grades. And we also have a really cool program that's called Counselor in Training, and this serves grades 8 through 12. The Counselor in Training is really neat in the sense it's a 3-week leadership program. The participants that participate in this go through an application and interview process. We choose 4 to 8 CITs to participate in each session. And often a number of these CITs go on to be future counselors in one of the day camps I mentioned above. This year is sort of cool because we brought back our field trips and pool visits. So for the past 2 years, in order to meet all the, to adhere to COVID regulations, we weren't able to do field trips and or pool visits because you had to keep the distancing regulations and all that. So our staff had to be really creative in the activities we were able to do in order to adhere to all the various COVID regulations that we had. Sort of a fun thing I like to share about our day camps is, one, we have great day camps and it's due to the great staff that we have, and they have a lot of fun with their names. So every day camp staff person has sort of an alter persona, if you will. Some they have different names that they go by, like Big Dog, Play-Doh, Firecracker, Peaches, Fern, Kiwi, Dizzy, on and on. The counselors create a sort of a whole persona, and they're known by that to all their campers. Kind of taboo to use their names. So the campers often don't even know, well, most times don't even know the counselors' real full names. It's just kind of a fun thing they do with camp, and it is something that goes on year to year, and even staff amongst themselves refer to themselves as their camp name rather than their real names. Our schoolhouse rec program, man, this is really unique and neat how this rolled out. This is a full day, Monday through Friday program that originated and was run during COVID. This program was developed when COVID hit. This program was developed to support parents unable to work remotely and that were in need of childcare. So we kind of stepped into that gap and helped out there. During COVID, the community center staff assisted and supported youth that were attending school virtually. So, while parents were working, we had the kids, and they had to attend virtually. So we were getting them set up in their laptops and helping them get through their schooling during that time when everything was virtual. Coming out of COVID and as the youth returned to school, this program transitioned into a before and after school care program. So we went from the COVID scenario to now becoming a before and after school care program. This program serves Issaquah School District students in grades K through 5. On average, it has about 30 youth enrolled each week in the before and after school program. The before and after school program addresses some of the strain that like schools like Clark and Issaquah Valley Elementaries have in providing their before and after school care, because each of those schools has about 80 kids on their wait list that want to get into their school's program but just can't because they're at maximum capacity. So we're able to help a little bit by taking some of that strain off their facilities. The school district has been very supportive and working with us to run our program, so much so that we created a bus stop at the community center where kids from Issaquah Valley Elementary get dropped off and get picked up here by the school bus system and go to school down in Issaquah Valley. So that's kind of a really cool thing that we've done with the school district. And the Clark Elementary kids, for those that aren't familiar, Clark Elementary, we walk them up to the schools just right behind the Issaquah Community Center, which is where this program operates. The primary focus of this program is to provide a fun, safe place for kids to participate in physical and social activities. We also have a partner that comes out every Wednesday, Jet City Gymnastics, and they provide just some tumbling fun for the kids in the schoolhouse rec program. And like I said, that's every Wednesday, and it's just sort of fun to have a partner that we work with that comes in and just provides some extra, a little extra physical activity for the kids. Just with enrichment camps and programs, we have a variety of just different camps, Lego, engineering, robotics, arts classes and camps. So those are contracted camps that we work with other organizations and they run, but we work with them and oversee the program as it rolls out. So we do keep, we take and work with them closely, but they are our partnered programs. A lot of people don't realize we also run a preschool. We have a preschool is another one of the programs that we ran throughout COVID. We did not run it. It was our preschool serves ages 3 to 5 year olds, has 2 sites. We have one site at the community center and one site at Veterans Memorial Park Center, which is over in Veterans Memorial Park. These consist, we have 5 classes with 15 students in each class. So we have a pretty robust preschool program that often a lot of people are not even familiar with or aware that we have one. The preschool program is community focused. It combines socialization, academics, and preparing students for kindergarten. It's everything we do is getting the kids ready for kindergarten. The community center with special events. Our community center team works with a variety of special events. Some of them are, I think you probably might have heard the Concerts on the Green. That's the big one coming up right now. July 5th will be the first concert. For those that haven't heard, July 12th is going to be our 200th concert. So we're going to have a lot of fun with that one. So yeah, since we started, that will be the July 12th will be the 200th concert that we've held out there on the Green. This year, we're happy to be bringing back Beat the Heat Splash Day. We have a Valentine's dance that's coming back this year. Those due to some of the regulations that we had to comply with, we couldn't run those the past couple of years. Our Valentine's Day dance, very popular. Usually we have around 2,000 participants pre-COVID on that one. We run a kids triathlon. This is an event run by the Youth Advisory Board. So it's a program run by kids for kids. And it was held on June 5th, just earlier this month, and we had 200 plus elementary boys and girls that participated in that. We also have a large State of Mind event that's done with the Youth Advisory Board. Again, youth run, youth led, that the event brings an awareness to behavioral health and educating the community members on teen health. So it's a really informative time for teens to come together and learn and to share just the issues and various things occurring around behavioral health. You've heard me mention up above a little bit, the Youth Advisory Board. We have a very robust Youth Advisory Board. And like I said, it's encouraging youth leadership and community engagement with middle school and high schoolers. This upcoming 23-24 year will be the 27th year that the Youth Advisory Board has been in existence. This year, we have 40 youth participating from the Issaquah School District's middle school and high schools. The Youth Advisory Board provides a voice within the community. The Youth Advisory Board has a number of youth actively engaged and sitting on city boards and commissions. We have had for a number of years a Youth Advisory Board member sitting on the Park Board. This provides the youth with the opportunity to engage in a professional manner with adults and provides the adults with the opportunity to hear from an important voice in our community. Youth Advisory member boards are not just future leaders. They're today's leaders and having an impact on this Issaquah community today. Kind of like that. I got that from Kathy Jones, who works and has worked with this group for a long time. And I love how she spun it with them, that they are not just the future leaders, but they're today's leaders, and they're having that impact right now. Can we jump to the next slide there, Amy? I know I'm talking a lot. I don't know if anybody has any questions on the community center, but feel free to ask them if you want. Otherwise, I'll go through and we can do questions at the end. Our athletics team is responsible for youth and adult, all the youth and adult sports programs. They are all things youth and adult sports. The athletics team is also responsible for the direct provision of sports programming, as well as working with partners to provide an array of athletic opportunities. Some of the athletics directly provided by the team are, this is sort of, again, not completely comprehensive, but some of our bigger programs I wanted to share with you tonight. Our youth basketball program, this is another program, and we found out time and time again that, a lot of people weren't offering programs during COVID. We put in a lot of work and worked closely with King County Public Health in order to make sure we were running things the way we could. And basketball was another one that we were able to run each season. We did not have a season not be run because we were able to meet the requirements of COVID and all that. So it's sort of neat to share. This program, the youth basketball program, usually has 2,200 youth participating in it. That's 2,200, so it's a very, very large program. 2 seasons ago, the program ran with 1,100 kids. Unique in that sense that 2 years ago, we had to run it in pods, right? We had pods of about 15 to 20 kids. They would break up, the same kids would play each week. The coaches would officiate. We didn't have any officials, so there was no crossing over of one group to another, that if you did have an outbreak and anything, you could isolate that pod specifically. The season went off very well. We didn't have no issues whatsoever. And everybody was grateful for the opportunity to get out and play. This past season, we had 1,500 youth participating. And that was it's really exciting. We're seeing the kids coming back, and people are just so thankful for having the opportunity to play again and get out and get running around with their kids. To give you a little bit of the scale of it, the youth basketball program uses 15 elementaries, 4 middle schools, and 2 high schools, and the Issaquah Community Center to operate. So every Saturday during the basketball season, all those facilities have kids in them playing basketball to accommodate the number of kids we have playing. This program also provides job opportunities for over 60 part-time non-regular employees. Most of these are youth, anywhere from 14 on up. We employ many and numerous young people, and a lot of their first jobs are with us. And like I said, we do see that as a training program where we're starting to develop and implement in them and teach them leadership skills that carry on into their future. Volunteering wise with this, just specifically youth basketball, the program engages over 250 community members as volunteer coaches. Most of these are parents. We do have some youth coaches, which are high school students. They are by far the coolest coaches, because as a parent, you can't be that cool, but you get a high school coach. That's pretty darn cool with all the young kids we got in the program. Our next program with the gliders, track and field, and cross country. Quickly, the gliders program includes practices and both team meets, and we also meet with partner cities. So we have practices, we have meets that are internal, and then we also have neighboring cities that we have competitions with, and it's all in a recreational environment, and it's a lot of fun to get together with the other cities and participate in a little bit of friendly competition. We had 180 participants in our spring track and field program, 150 in our summer program, and we're going to have 150 participants in our upcoming cross country program. We also contract out for a lot of our sports camps, classes, and clinics. So some of our partnered athletics and the sports programs include, like I say, camps in the summer, and then during the school year, it's classes and clinics. But we offer things in sports such as basketball, soccer, volleyball, gymnastics, cheer, martial arts, dance and drill, are just to name some of the contracted sports we work with. The athletics team partners with 10 plus organizations in order to make all these camps and classes happen. So partners are always a very important portion and part of what we do. The ball field and picnic shelter rentals, this is the other big part of what athletics manages. The athletics team very closely collaborates with the park operations team. The athletics team works with the customers booking the use of facilities, and the park operations team maintains the ball fields and shelters. And there's a real close coordination between our two teams to make sure that we're able to serve the customer and to turn over different facilities appropriately so that everybody gets the use that they're looking for. We have ball fields available at Tibbetts Valley Park. These are ball fields that can be used for rental, and when they're not rented, they're just open and available to the public to use. Ball fields are available at Tibbetts Valley Park, Central Park, Veterans Memorial Park, and Squaw Valley Park. We have shelters available at Confluence Park, Tibbetts Valley Park, Gibson Park, and Central Park. The athletics team works very closely with youth nonprofit organizations such as football, soccer, baseball, lacrosse, and the Issaquah School District to provide space for practices, games, and tournaments. They also work really closely with organizations, outside organizations, to run tournaments within the city of Issaquah. And they also work really hard to support different events. A couple big ones, Salmon Days and the Down Home 4th of July. You know, those activities are all within city parks, which requires, and our team coordinates with, you know, the chamber and Downtown Issaquah Association to make sure that we're supporting those events as best we can to make sure that they are successful. If we go to the next slide there to the thank you. Julius Bone Pool. The pool, the operations pool, the pool, you know, if you haven't been in it, the pool consists of a 10 by 15 yard shallow pool. It's about 3 to 4 feet deep, and it has six 25-yard lanes. The drop-in activities available at the pool are lap swim, water walking, recreation swim, water exercise. Pool has a men's and women's locker room, as well as a couple family changing rooms. Like I said, kind of like the community center. If you haven't been to it, I'd encourage you to go visit it. It's a great location with a great team up there running the show. Swim lessons, another, you know, I mean, it's going to sound pretty repetitive here when I'm saying this, but it's another program that ran throughout COVID. It was even, I think, you know, right at the first, when everything shut down, I think there was only a 2 or 3 month period that when nothing was running, that we didn't run swim lessons, and then the swim lessons were running ever since then. The swimming pool offers swim lessons for beginning to competitive levels. It offers lessons in group and private sessions. This program, just to give you a little context, before COVID, this program had 3,179 youth participating. In 2021, the pool had 916 youth participating. So that was 3,000 down to about 1,000, right? And then in 2022, so far, we have 944 youth that have so far participated this year. The reason for those low numbers was not, we had the same demand, but in order to meet all the safety requirements required by, you know, public health, we had to limit dramatically the amount of kids we were allowed in the pool, and we had to create spacing and distancing amongst all the swimmers and even the instructors. So that's why those numbers are, like I said, the demand was still there, but our numbers, we were only able to accommodate fewer because of the limited number we were allowed to allow into the pool. There's a high demand for swim lessons, and when they open up, they fill quickly. If you have kids or know people that have kids have been trying to sign up for swim lessons, when you want to pay attention when they open, because when they open, they go quickly. We have very popular swim lessons and a very great team that runs them. We have an aquatic exercise class offered 3 times a week. This class is really it's just a fun class. It consists mostly of older adults, and the class provides us an outlet for physical activity and for connecting with others, which is, like I said, it's a really close-knit group that's been together for many, many years, and they are a welcoming, fun group when new people come, and like I said, they've been together for a lot of years. Our pool also does lifeguard training. The Julius Bone Pool is one of the few organizations in the area that trains and certifies lifeguards for staff, for pools and waterfront locations. You know, the pool not only provides in-house training to its own team members, but it also does training for for organizations outside the city as well. Recently, and this is sort of a fun little, it was cool to be able to come alongside and help our neighbors, but recently the aquatics team trained and certified all the beachfront staff for Sammamish and Medina. So they are now going to be able to have their beaches open this summer due to the training that was provided to them through the staff at the Julius Bone Pool. The staff trained 45 lifeguards in 2021 and has trained 33 lifeguards so far this year. So we're on track to surpass that number. Our lifeguards also aquatics team also provide CPR, AED, and first aid training. They provide all the training for our recreation services team, as well as a number of our part-time non-regular staff. Most recently, they conducted the training with our day camp team. We have with pool rentals. The pool works very closely with the Issaquah School District to provide space for practices and meets for the Issaquah and Liberty High School swim teams, and swim meet space for the Skyline swim team. So Liberty and Issaquah High School swim teams practice and have meets at the Julius Bone Pool, and Skyline High School has meets at the pool. These each of these schools has a boys and girls team with an average of about 80 youth per team. So each high school, boys, girls team, about 80 kids per team. Combined, these teams use the pool for around 6 months out of the year. There's a boys season and a girls season, each lasting about 3 months. The pool also works very closely with the Issaquah swim team to provide space for this local club team. The Issaquah swim team is a year-round swim team with the USA Swimming, and it serves about 200 or more youth in the Issaquah area. An interesting piece of the Julius Bone Pool is one of the very few public pools in the area that provides public lap swimming in a 25-yard pool. In most facilities, you'd have to join a club or become a member in order to have access to that kind of swimming, whereas we're open to the public. You can pay a drop-in, come in, and have access. Next slide, please there, Amy. Thank you. Issaquah Senior Center is a welcoming space for older adults to access resources, participate in programs, and connect with others. Senior Center serves as a resource hub for seniors. The Senior Center often directly provides much needed resources, or we work with partners to provide those services. And when we can't do the first two, then we will, we will seek out service providers to get them the services they're looking for. So we either directly provide it, work with somebody to provide it, or we'll help them get in touch with somebody that can provide the resources they're looking for. Like the community center, Senior Center is another location that provides assistance during an emergency or disaster. Most recently, the Senior Center has been used as a cooling and a heating center during extreme weather events. And again, this facility as well is supported by all those other teams within the Recreation Services Division. Senior Center, we have such a strong, great volunteer program down there, and they're such an important part of the team, and they play such a big role in the services that are provided through this facility. Just last month, we had 30 volunteers. They led groups, provided kitchen and meal support, assisted at the front counter, worked in the Senior Center's library. There's more things that we have volunteers doing down there than I can mention, but that's just to name a few. The meal program that is operated out of the Senior Center. This is it's again another program that we ran throughout COVID, and is much appreciated by our senior community. This Issaquah Senior Center directly provides meals Wednesday through Friday, and we partner with Catholic Community Services to provide meals on Mondays and Tuesdays. Just to give you a little bit of a scope and scale of things, in 2021, the Senior Center team served 4,800 meals. In 2022, the Senior Center has already served 2,700 meals. Like I said, we have such a great kitchen team. We got one of our team members down there, you can see, but the kitchen team loves to have a lot of fun, and they will make special meals. They make special meals celebrating many holidays and special events. As you can see, summer's here. Got the barbecue there. That's what it's going to look like here real soon. Barbecued ribs, chicken, bratwurst are on the menu. They'll be cooked on the patio outside the Senior Center, and that's always just a fun, festive way to pull everybody together. Programs, classes, and socialization. The Senior Center offers a variety of programs, classes, and opportunities for socialization. Some of these are field trips. These did not go the past couple of years. They have been wanting them back. We got them back this month. We had 3 trips this month, and we have 4 planned for next. We have some doodle dog therapy every Thursday with socialization and animal therapy. We have a book club. We have mindfulness, which is a self-care and personal growth program that we do. We offer it in a hybrid format so that we can, if you can't make it to the senior center, you can still be a part of this program. During COVID, it was run exclusively virtually, but now some of our programs have turned and become more hybrid, where we have people in person, but we also have people at home. So if you can't make it to the community center for one reason, or senior center for one reason or another, you're not isolated. You can still participate and be part of the group at home. We do visual journaling, art classes, which include crafts, card making, driftwood carving. Really neat program we have is Tech Help. It's assisting seniors with technology on any and all devices. We have 2 volunteers, and they've been doing this for a long time and all through COVID, 2 volunteers that provide 8 30-minute sessions a week that seniors can receive assistance on. These are very popular sessions and they're always full. We provide bingo in a hybrid format as well. You can play from home, you can play in person. We have a real fun program. It's called Metro with Dave. This is riding the King County Metro buses. Dave will take you out and show you how to make transfers. And each month the seniors are given a lesson on how to ride Metro bus to a different location, such as Seattle museums, variety of restaurants, and sporting events. They pick a place and then go on a trip and learn how to get there. There's knitting groups. There's a memoir group, along with cards, puzzles, games, pool, and ping pong. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff going on in our senior center. Special events and special interest workshops. Senior Center also offers a variety of special events and special interest workshops. We have a baby boomer boot camp. This is a full-day program working with retirement experts, sharing best practices and guidelines to help seniors make the most of their next chapter in life. Estate planning, we go over senior safety, topics such as how to avoid scams, Q&A with our Issaquah Police Department, fall prevention. We have a fun program where we celebrate those that are 90 and over, where we interview and celebrate our 90-plus-year-old seniors. It's a real fun event just to celebrate them for being over 90. And it's like I said, it's just a lot of fun time to come together, and people come just to meet all those that are over 90. We have an aging mastery program. This is another hybrid program that you can participate in person or virtually. And this is a 10-week program with subject matter experts, including pharmacists, financial advisors, sleep experts, and fall prevention specialists. One of the senior favorites for special events is the Seahawk Legends event. This is kind of fun. Dave Wyman has come for many years, and he brings other retired Seahawks to come to the senior center. They come, they visit with the seniors, answer questions, and take pictures with our seniors. It's a lot of fun. Our health and fitness programs that we have a variety of them, such as sail, yoga, tai chi, line dancing, hiking for beginners and intermediate levels. Over COVID, these classes were held virtually. So we were able to still reach out to our seniors, and they were doing exercising and moving at home, and also being connected with those friends and community that they had made in each one of those classes. We have a variety of community partners. Really quickly, would love to just share some of those with you. We have King County, which we have a King County Veteran Senior Health Services levy grant that assists in offsetting some of the expenses of the senior center programs. That's a tremendous support by King County. We work closely with the Issaquah Food Bank, King County Library, Eastside Friends of Seniors that provides transportation services for seniors, Aegis Senior Living, Bellwood Senior Living, University House Senior Living, Sunrise Senior Living, Overlake Medical Center. We work with CMAR, which is a group that once a month provides conversation, games, and lunch for Spanish-speaking seniors. We have the National Charity League that comes to the Senior Center regularly. Real soon here, they're going to be hosting an ice cream social for the seniors. They partner and volunteer at the Senior Center, and they do things like decorating and paint fingernails and do manicures. So the NCL has been doing a lot of fun things with our seniors, and it's fun to have the youth interaction with our seniors. Rentals, some pretty cool stories here as we go into over COVID. Karate West was a local business that was hit really hard by COVID. The Senior Center has been working with Karate West to provide a space for them as they build back their program. We have the Issaquah singers now that have come back that have been a longtime user of the senior center. The senior center hosts, it's just a variety of rentals such as memorials, celebration of life, graduation parties, reunions, family potlucks. It's another facility as well that supports like Salmon Days with the Chamber of Commerce. That's their base of operations during Salmon Days. So the senior center operates as their base of operations, and it will be used this upcoming 4th of July by DIA with a down home 4th of July. Mind going to the next slide there, Amy?
It's doing that again, so let me.
Oh, no worries. Last slide. Hopefully everybody's still with me.
Oh, there we go.
Nice. Pickering Barn. The Pickering Barn has 3,060 square foot hay barn. It has a 6,300 square foot dairy barn with a built-in sound system, has 2 dressing, meeting rooms, and a 400+ square foot creamery that is often used by caterers for food storage, prep, and delivery. The barn has a courtyard with a gazebo that can provide ceremony seating outside for 350 people. The space is also popular during the farmers market for live entertainment and used as a gathering space. It's used for a lot of weddings, reception. It's real popular as a historic venue. It's very flexible in its catering and beverage policy, allowing a lot of variety of service providers to come in where we don't restrict people to having to use one food provider or one drink beverage provider. It has space for indoor and outdoor ceremonies and receptions. It has parking for over 150 vehicles, provides in-house table and chairs, and it's, like I said, that's itself is a unique environment. The barn setting is, I hope most have seen it at least, it's just such a unique, beautiful setting. And like I said, is very much appreciated, loved for all the different uses it gets, which would roll right into the farmer's market. Farmer's market currently going. Again, if you haven't been to the community center, pool, senior center, I would say go to the farmer's market too. It is outstanding. It runs every Saturday, May through September, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We see as many as 2,000 to 5,000 people visit the market each Saturday. Again, that's usually 2,000 to 5,000 people, 5,000 more in the middle of the market when we're at our peak, but that's between 9 and 2 p.m. So that's a 5-hour window when we get that many people going through that space. The market is another program that was consistently offered throughout the pandemic. Again, had to do many and numerous modifications to the way that we ran that operation in order to comply and be in compliance with the King County Public Health. The market supports local farmers and food systems, offering a variety of fresh produce, prepared foods, local processors, and artisans. It also has a lot of volunteer opportunities, and if you or anyone you know would like to volunteer down there, we always have volunteers helping out down at the farmers market. It's a lot of fun, and it's a fun environment. The barn also, it's not just a wedding and reception venue. It also has a variety of rentals with fundraisers and auctions. There's a JBF kids sale, rock and gem show, country craft show, school functions, leadership trainings, award ceremonies, dances, fundraisers. We've had celebrations of lives, and Costco is also one of our partners down there where they've done team building and vendor style outs where they'll have vendors that come and display their products at the barn for Costco to come over and look at. The Pickering Barn Rentals Division team is also responsible for the community garden at Confluence Park. That has 31 plots, 4 of which are ADA accessible. There's an application process, and this site is all organic, has no pesticides are used on this site. Woo! That is just a quick scratch of the surface of a lot of the Recreation Services Division. I would be remiss in, could you go to the next slide, Amy? Thank you, perfect. I'd be remiss in not mentioning the services provided by the Parks and Community Service. They would not be possible without the tireless dedication of the professional staff, all the part-time non-regular staff, volunteers, and community partners. That's some of what I mentioned before, but it really does take a village, right? It's everybody doing a lot and a lot of committed people to serving the public and doing good things for all ages within our community. So with that, hopefully everybody's still with me. Yeah, it's a little weird being on WebEx. I hope everybody's there. If we can go maybe back to the full screen, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thanks, Brian.
Zach, if it's okay, I have a couple questions.
Sure. Yeah.
One, thanks for going through. That was a very thorough rundown of all the things that the team is doing. You mentioned in a couple of places sort of the attendance and sort of the difference from COVID versus sort of where we are today. I'm curious, as you look forward into sort of the start of the next school year into the summer programs, where are you expected to be at or over capacity as far as the programs that we're looking at? I know you mentioned the swimming is, I've tried to schedule swimming and I know what that's like. I've also tried to, when my son was little, I also tried to schedule summer camp, and you were if you weren't on at 8:01, you were out of luck. So I'm just curious, like, what are the programs that we have that are at capacity, and what are our plans to service more of our community for those capacity plans?
Ooh, great question. I love that one. Well, and like I said, Marlene, that the pool is that is one that is, you're spot on, and that one we're actually working to do a little bit of a feasibility study to see what kind of capacity increases we could have on that site. So doing a little bit of studying and using a professional to assess, using that existing site, what could be done to increase the capacity, i.e. get more water space for people to swim. Because then it would be a matter of being able to hire more staff to teach more classes. Currently, and I think probably everybody's seen all the hiring signs out here. One of our biggest struggles right now is finding those part-time non-regular staff. Just being honest, that's a really tough thing right now. We have enough to run our day camps, we have enough to run our swim lessons, but we're right there at that number, right? We're not, and to grow our programs now, we need to have more staff. The pool's limited just by the nature of its capacity, and our day camps are a little bit the same. It's a matter of how much space we can get. We could potentially, we always look at our wait list. If we have big enough wait list next year, we would look at expanding potentially to another camp if we had staff and a desired need to fill another camp. We have to have enough people that would fill that, but those are most definitely the two that end up being the most restrictive in registrations. And our preschool would fall into that as well, because it has a cap on it. Whereas basketball, we can usually take as many kids in basketball because we have the resources of all the schools to use in our facilities. Does that help?
Yeah, helpful. I was just curious, as we think about, everybody's trying to get back to whatever normal looks like after COVID with attendance.
Yeah.
I was just curious, where you're seeing struggles and understand staffing, especially for part-time. But was just curious about sort of where you're seeing different trends or things maybe more or less than previous COVID, and how sort of the rec programs are adjusting. And I'm more familiar, obviously, with the kids side of it, but I'm guessing the senior center has a lot of differences as well.
Well, what we're seeing is it's all starting to come back, right? It's not fully there, but it's all starting to come back up to what it was pre-COVID. And like I said, you can see it stepping up each year. And, coming into this year, I'm assuming that we'll be just maybe a little bit lower, but we're gradually getting back up to what those pre-COVID numbers were. And we're getting really close, right?
Yeah, makes sense. And then kind of final follow-up question from me, I know the city likes to do surveys and get community feedback. And I was curious, as far as the rec team goes, how do we look at potentially new programs or new types of sports? Like, how do you guys think about sort of your existing catalog of recreation activities, and how do you sort of solicit feedback from the community on sort of where we want to adjust programming?
No, that's a great question. Often we'll send out surveys. It's not 100%, but lots of times we'll send surveys out through our programs. We're regularly networking with our neighbors and looking at, you're looking at what other people are running. Anytime somebody reaches out to us with an idea, we sit down and listen to them and talk to them about it, and see what, everything's possible, right? I think that's what's sort of fun. And we do sit down with, if new program ideas come in off the street, we will talk to them. We also research, like I said, what are other cities doing? What's popular with other cities? Because sometimes you see a lot of things are being offered in other cities, and then you talk to them and realize, oh, they have a lot of things to offer, but they're not quite as popular as they sound. And then, I meet once a month with some other, my counterparts in other cities, and we share ideas, like, what's working right now? What are you seeing? I mean, right now it's a lot of, we need staff, but we share ideas about what kind of programming is working, what's maybe trending, what's becoming popular, is there needs within the community. So we do a lot of that, and like I say, we try to always have an open door for anything that anybody has that wants to bring it to the table if they have something that they're thinking about.
Great. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? Jeff?
Yeah, just I guess a quick comment to wrap up. Brian, thanks so much for coming and just sharing that. And Brian touched on this. The recreation team reflected such a nimbleness in modifying programs, helping this community really get through the pandemic. And Brian and the recreation supervisors and our other staff are just, again, to be commended. I can't speak more highly or highly enough of the team. I think, Marlene, your questions are so spot on in terms of how we look ahead into this post-pandemic world. I think Brian is being humble, right? I think we saw a need for daytime assistance with kids and their homework as parents were heading back to work in the pandemic. That became Schoolhouse Rec. Schoolhouse Rec is now a before and after school program that we work very closely with the Issaquah School District on. As we added hardwood courts, the community center, and through the pandemic and now after, we're seeing a higher demand for volleyball and some of those other uses that weren't so excited about carpeted floors. So the recreation team, I think, is really demonstrated just amazing work in serving this community. So Brian, I know that was a lot to go over, and I know as we were building the agenda, the recreation team, or the park board, was just, I think, very interested in getting a snapshot of what we've been doing coming out of the pandemic and what the summer looks like. So if you haven't, park board members, haven't had a chance to get to a concert, please get to a concert this summer. They're so much fun. If you want to see why you are on the park board and why parks are important, go to a concert. You will just see community in action. Or please stop by the farmer's market on a Saturday. Again, there's times I get tired of doing this job. I love what I do, but it can be exhausting. There's nothing more affirming than just sitting back and watching a community come and enjoy a public space and enjoy a program. So thanks, Brian, for taking that time.
Thank you for letting me share. It's my passion. It's what I live and breathe. I love it. So I say, if you got more of it than you probably wanted, that would be all on me, because I do love what we do. So thank you for letting me come and share.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think it's time for the chair report and director's report. So I don't see Ryan on, so I don't believe we have anyone representing for the youth report today. Is that right?
Yeah, I don't see Ryan or anyone else.
Okay. So I just wanted to start off by saying thank you to Brad for all of his years as the chair, and for his mentorship, and Jeff as well. And next, just kind of wanted to talk a little bit about some events sort of happening in and around the Issaquah area. So Brad actually kind of shared this one with me. The Issaquah Alps Trail Club is hosting an educational hike on June 30th, kind of walking through the newly acquired parcel there on Cougar Mountain. That'll be launching from the Harvey Manning Trailhead. Kind of an educational hike talking about just the benefits that forest provides for stream quality and just climate and the health of the planet. Second thing, the concerts in the park. I know Brian kind of touched on that. That'll be occurring every Tuesday from 7 to 8:30. obviously just outside the community center there. The other thing that I kind of gleaned from the Issaquah Insider, they're doing a restoration effort at Issaquah Creek, about a 1,200-foot section of degraded stream near the southeast 62nd bridge. They're doing some restoration work to hopefully improve salmon habitat. Thought that seemed pretty interesting. And that's kind of all from me on the chair report. So I know Jeff probably has some comments from the capital funding from the city council meeting.
Yeah, thanks, Zach. And thank you again for stepping up to chair. So appreciate that. Yeah, so forgive me, I had to pop over. I had a phone a friend moment. The council has their committee of the whole meeting tonight. I shared with you the link. Big topic tonight in terms of the community investment strategy. I don't know if you had a chance to take a look at the staff report. Does a pretty good job of outlining the mayor's recommendation. Tonight was really a lot more of council receiving that information, really getting some of their initial questions out on the table. Not an action item tonight by any means. So that conversation and really, I think starting to get feedback from council will start happening at their July 5th meeting and into July. And so, you know, again, I thank you. I think that some of the conversations, Brad, certainly your work as serving on that task force group and representing the park board, I think some of the conversations that led to with the rest of the park board, your specific feedback and requests to look at, you know, the funding of parks and considering that park district and expediting that, not waiting 9 years. That's all embedded within the mayor's recommendation. So I want to take the chance under the director's report to point that out. And really your work, your thoughts, your deliberation, your representation of the community is really, really important and can be impactful. So much more to come. I'm going to try and learn a little bit as to sort of where council ends their conversation tonight. I will email and keep you all informed as to what maybe some of the core questions might be or what that deliberation looks like heading into July in terms of capital investment opportunities within our anchor parks and where that goes. So I think the outcome of that work really will predicate what kicking off that anchor park efforts look like, which of those parks becomes a priority and what community engagement looks like moving forward. So much more to take place with all of you as that proceeds. Hillside Park, another park that we continue to work on. We'll have an update for you in July with that. We had a really good round of community and neighborhood engagement. Tim, thank you so much. I know as a park board member, you attended both the on-site meeting and gave some great feedback there. Got some really, I think, important, insightful feedback from neighbors in the community in that work. I know Jennifer and the consultant team are working hard at really incorporating that feedback, seeing how we might be able to look at fine-tuning some of the concepts and how the concepts were presented. We'll have more information for you in July as we look at that. A couple things we're looking at, just so you all know, as we introduce some of these elements of play into that park. The good news is, I think that the softness or the way the play elements were incorporated naturally were really seen as a positive. I think some of the opportunities we have is to probably concentrate to where we disperse some of that play, maybe a little too much. There might be some opportunities in concentrating that a little bit more and modifying some of the play to, again, make sure that we're really being as sort of thoughtful in how we embed play and embed more activity into that park, but still have it feel and function very much as a passive park. So much more on that, I think, as that work happens. Jennifer and I, in fact, have a meeting tomorrow to also talk about and begin to prepare for what the permitting process is going to look for as we look at doing that field improvements in the wetland mitigation work as we do our further work with not only our own city planning department, but State Department of Ecology and Federal Army Corps of Engineers are all going to be groups that we're going to be working through with our consultant team. So much more there. Last quick item, I'm noticing we're coming up on 9 o'clock. We had a couple rounds of park board interviews of candidates last week. We interviewed 8 candidates. I think our recruitment effort was very successful in sort of reaching in a more targeted way, as opposed to just being a general announcement of all boards and commissions. That work now goes to Mayor as Mayor looks at putting her recommendations together. Thank you again for the conversation earlier today and Tina joining. Giving ourselves that flexibility, as I said earlier, is really important. As recommendations are formed, we also have that flexibility to move forward. So those appointments could happen as soon as July, and if that's the case, we'll have likely some additional park board members to join this great group right here. So that ends my director's report at 8:59. Thanks,
All
Zach.
right. So I think with that, we'll adjourn the meeting.
It's great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Have a great night.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good night.
For your work.
Thanks. See ya.